We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxing Ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Oh my God. I'm back with some more bad news. The Haniacs don't want to hear it. Jorge Linares, former Devin Haney opponent, he speaks out and he said some interesting things, we'll say. To me, he was dropping gems. I think Jorge Linares was dropping some gems, but we gonna talk about it. In a brand new interview with YSM Sports Media, Jorge Linares said some very interesting things. I'm gonna paraphrase for you guys so you guys get the picture. So Jorge Linares was talking about the Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney situation. And it's funny because he only spent, he was being fair, but he only spent a few moments on Ryan Garcia's part. He said that was bad on Ryan Garcia's part, unprofessional for him to miss the weight, and then he has a positive pop for the Ostarine. Then he immediately, the rest of the interview that was uploaded was about Devin Haney. And to paraphrase what Jorge Linares said, he said that Devin Haney needs to come back down to 135 pounds. He needs to drop down in weight because, like Boxing Ego has been saying, he is in between a rock and a hard place at 140 or beyond. He says because Devin Haney doesn't have any punching power and he doesn't have a chin. He doesn't have a good chin. Whereas he said Ryan definitely has power and he has a better chin. So that's that. But for Devin Haney, that's a bad cocktail or a bad combination of things to have / lack in terms of being at that weight. Now, the other brilliant thing that Jorge Linares said that your boy Ego Stradamus has been telling you, this new breed of fighter, this new generation, and I'm really talking about anybody under the age of 29 years old, right about that cusp, is what Linares was saying is pretty much what I've been saying, is basically these new fighters are lazy. They don't maintain their weight. A lot of people want the look, they want the money, they want the accolades. And boxing has evolved in some ways good, but also in some ways bad. And I'll explain that in the next 30 seconds. The ways that it's involved is financially, you're risking your life and you can make more money for that risk. So for a boxer, there's no better time in history to be a pugilist and be a boxer because you got Turkey Al-Sheikh and he breaking bread. You got PBC and these different companies, and you're able to earn way more money than what was previously possible. You look at GOATs like Sugar Ray Robinson. Sugar Ray Robinson, there were periods of time where Sugar Ray Robinson would fight multiple times in a month or have a fight and then threaten to pull out because he didn't like the pay, and then he would hold up the event, things like that. Or he would fight and then 2 weeks later, a week later, some of these guys from yesteryear would have another fight. There's nobody fighting that's top level, that's making multi-millions, that's fighting with that level of frequency. So to me, that era is dead. You got to appreciate the pioneers of the game and the people before. Like, you're not going to see fighters with Julio Cesar Chavez and Ray Robinson type of records, right? Or even Pacquiao, where they have all these types of fights and they got like 75 plus fights under their belt. The closest it would be like maybe a Canelo, somebody who came up in the Mexico boxing circuit and they started at 14, 15 years old or whatever, and they fought a lot of cab drivers and journeymen on the way up and have a crazy padded record like Gilberto Ramirez or, Canelo before he came to America, things like that. But long gone are the days where you see fighters that are probably going to get to 80 plus fights, 85 plus fights in their career because you can make so much money. So for some reasons, it is a good thing because boxing, you are risking your life by lacing them up. It's a dangerous sport. It could have long lasting effects, CTE, and, you know, speech problems and speech impediments and health issues after the fact. So for that reason, you're able to make more money than was previously the case. But there, with the good comes the bad. And the bad is, with that ability, these young fighters, a lot of them are almost like brats, like they're entitled. And just what Linares is saying, they don't want to put the work in and they don't want to make the sacrifice, which is specifically why, if you look at it, this new generation, I'm talking about mostly fighters under the 30-year-old mark, right? If you look at these new fighters, that's why you see guys who move to a division and then they move to another division, like another higher division, a very short period after, which is weird, because back in the day you had guys who would stay in divisions, and of course you had Roberto Duran's and things like that would eventually move up in their career for better opportunities. But there's a lot of guys that they're rapidly moving through different divisions because they're not able to make the weight and hold the weight for any period of time. So you don't even really see much. Like let's say Shakur Stevenson, right? He was way too big. He pretty much should have never been at featherweight. The way his body was growing and whatever, you start seeing he had stretch marks on his arms and things like that. Featherweight was just, he wasn't going to make that for a long period of time. Then he moved to 130 and he didn't really do too much damage there. Like he had a couple fights, Oscar Valdez, you know, things like that, and Jamel Herring, but now he's already up at lightweight. These guys are too big. I don't know if it's a passion thing, if it's a training thing. Same thing with Devin Haney. Devin Haney had his second fight at 140 pounds with Ryan Garcia. Now, credit to him, he made the weight, he made the contracted weight, but it's still alarming, which is something that Boxing Ego, the best in the business, and it's not even close, has always said. It's alarming that Devin Haney's in his second fight in a brand new division and he has to weigh in naked. Like, why do you have to weigh in naked to achieve a weight to a class you just got to, you know? And the red flags have been there. Even his first fight, he's rehydrating 25 pounds overnight. That's excessive. Devin Haney weighed in his fight with Regis Prograis at 140, coming from lightweight 135. He weighed the same amount as Canelo versus Floyd Mayweather the day of the fight. And Canelo was a 54-pound guy fighting Floyd at 152 catchweight. You know, he weighed within a pound of Erislandy Lara, his weight, when Erislandy Lara fought against Canelo. So why is a 140-pounder, a new 140-pounder, matching the weights of young 154-pounders at the time, Canelo and Lara? So it shows me something there. So I agree wholeheartedly with Jorge Linares, and I've been saying this even before he put out this interview. It's ridiculous. But back to Devin Haney, he's in between a rock and a hard place. Many people feel his chin is limited. You know, he has a suspect chin, whatever you want to call it, glass chin. A lot of people feel that way. Plus, you fought Ryan Garcia, who was tagging you and getting off at will. So in terms of like PTSD and all the angst and repressed memories that come with being abused in that fight by Ryan Garcia, we know these wars take and put more mileage on the fighter. So to come, his chin was already in question, but on top of that, you got in a fight where you were battered, so to speak. And that's why I never, if you watch all of my videos since I started, you've never heard me be really a proponent and an advocate for, oh, he's showing a lot of heart. Like, I say it maybe occasionally, but I don't overuse the whole he got heart angle, because to me it's stupid. Heart to get you killed. Like, if guys are trying to rob a bank and they got ARs and you got heart and then you rush one of the guys, okay, you got heart, you see their armed robbers and you rush them. But that heart is also stupidity, because while you're sitting up here rushing and trying to thwart bank robbers, they're strapped and fully loaded, and then they light you up. So you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't believe in heart. Heart is not, like, people confuse heart with stupidity. And I know that probably sounds harsh, but people misconstrue like heart and courage with things that are stupid. If you run around in flip-flops across a 4-lane interstate or highway, right? That doesn't make you courageous to me. That doesn't make you noble. That makes you an idiot to me, right? Yeah, okay, this guy is filming a video and he's darting through traffic on the freeway and there's semis and trucks swerving and things like that. That's not courageous to me. Like, especially if you're just doing it for TikTok or something. You're not doing it for like to save somebody or some actual reason. You're just doing it for clout and viewership. That's stupid. You're risking your life for nothing. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of times people confuse that. They confuse like courage and nobility versus like even in boxing, sometimes a fighter showing heart, but it's dumb for their corner not to stop the fight, if that makes sense. Because this beating is going to stay with your fighter, and by you showing pride and not being willing to throw in the towel, you're only making it worse long term for your fighter. So the punishment I seen Devin Haney take, even if you thought he had a good chin, which I don't know anyone that really has said that, but if you thought he had a great granite chin, the amount of punishment that he took from Ryan could have definitely influenced that, because that's what happens. We've seen guys like Meldrick Taylor, and he was winning the fight for real with Julio Cesar Chavez, but we see the outcome of the fight, and I don't think Meldrick Taylor was ever the same. So without a shred of doubt, a shadow of doubt in my mind, ego has led you guys yet again to the promised land. Notice the stuff, the speech, the gospel that I give you on my channel. You have other people who are actual boxers and trainers and stuff, and they're basically confirming and corroborating what I've said, and they're attesting to what I've said. Linares is telling you in his own words what ego has been telling you, right? Devin is in between a rock and a hard place, and I think that's why he's talking about lawsuits and this, that, and the third, because deep down inside, whether he admits it or not, he probably realizes it. But even more so is he lacks power, and people believe he lacks a chin. So if you have discipline issues and now you need to move up to 147, if you're getting like bulldozed by a undisciplined, non-committed Ryan Garcia, 147 is going to be a huge challenge. And there's this other misnomer in boxing where some people, they'll say that, oh, a fighter moving up in weight, they're going to be stronger because they're moving up in weight and they're giving their body a break. Now, there could be some validity to that. In some instances, that is true, but usually it is not true when the fighter at the lighter weight classes lacks power, and then they're not really hurting guys in much lighter divisions, and then they move up and move up and move up. Then usually your strength is not going to improve. There are some times where if a fighter was absolutely killing himself to make the weight on the scale to hit that number, and they were depleting everything and leaving it all in the gym and barely making, then there are select times, I guess you could say, where a fighter would have improved power and be a bit sharper and better because they're not crashing out their body. But the reality is, we've seen much of Devin's career. He's been a fighter that showed promise since before he was a pro. So basically the amateurs. And at the end of the day, we've seen enough of Devin Haney's fights. He's not really knocking out. His best knockout is probably Antonio Moran, which is not something you write home about. It's not like a legendary foe that he knocked out, right? So at the end of the day, we've seen him at 35 and now 40. And how many knockdowns does he have? Regis Prograis, he knocked him down. Never knocked Ryan down. Didn't knock Lomachenko down. You know, so at the elite level, it's going to be hard because, like Linares is saying, these guys at 140 pounds, they're more durable, bigger, and stronger. He even said in this interview, he said, I started, you know, I was at featherweight and then I gradually moved up over the years because my body would not permit me to make some of the lower weight classes anymore. And then he said he pushed it, basically saying he pushed it too far and he went to 140 and he said that was my mistake. So he's basically saying he bit off more than he could chew, right? And he ended up getting knocked out at 140 pounds. So Devin Haney coming off of a bad performance. And the other thing, this is very, I guess, minor in the grand scheme of things, but it's noteworthy to me. I think the fact that Ryan got off pretty lightly, all things considered, yeah, he's out for a year, but he didn't lose anything. He didn't lose, like, it's just like the fight didn't happen, so he doesn't have a second loss. That I've seen, none of his endorsements dropped him. It's not like, you know, when some people have DV cases and then they get endorsement deals and then they lose all that, or they have some controversy or SA accusations and then they lose all these sponsorships. We didn't really see that with Ryan Garcia. Despite the Osterine, if anything, we've seen the opposite. Fans and people like Dana White with the UFC who are backing Ryan Garcia and saying that, hey, I truly believe and my team believes that Ryan was a person who encountered tainted supplements rather than cheating. So Ryan Garcia, he definitely got out pretty lightly. Now, when you layer it and break down all the layers and facets of this situation, Ryan Garcia is taunting Devin Haney still. He's not lost any money. He's dropping diss songs and roasting Devin Haney. Fans are roasting Devin Haney in the comment section. Imagine how that'll play with your psyche. You feel like the victim. You feel like you were wrong. And seemingly nobody truly cares, or very few people truly care, which is why I said from the beginning, this was a bad fight for Devin Haney. He didn't really stand to gain much. Ryan was playing around with the antics, running around doing all the theatrics. Tank just the previous year had knocked out Ryan Garcia and made him quit. And I told you guys before the fight, there was nothing that Devin Haney was going to do that was going to overshadow what Gervonta Davis did. Davis didn't get hit by Ryan Garcia. It did crazy numbers, over 1 million, and he dropped him and he stopped him and made Ryan Garcia no mas. Devin Haney put out shirts, Mexicans for Haney and Ryan Garcia is not La Raza, with Tank's victory on it. But then you look at the actual fight between Haney and Ryan Garcia, those shirts were a bad idea. The pre-game speeches like, oh, I guarantee you I knock out Ryan Garcia, all that was a bad idea because you had no moments in the fight that looked reminiscent to what Tank did to Ryan Garcia. So that's what is being said even here by Jorge Linares. You have limited power, don't have the killer instinct and the finishing ability. You got cooked by Ryan in the fight from what we've seen in terms of sustained beating and punishment. You showed heart, but again, I've already explained, for me, that's not really something that I'm going to revel in, somebody showing heart. There's journeymen who have 80 losses on their records and they show heart. So I'm not really concerned with heart. Yeah, that's a good attribute to have in terms of being a boxer, but there's other attributes like skills and defense. And I think that's what hurts Devin Haney the most here, is I think people rated Devin Haney much higher in certain departments and it wasn't shown on the given night. Now, again, the Haneyacks, they're blaming everything on Osterine, Asarm, but I think there's more than meets the eye, because if you're not getting caught with a lot of the foolishness that he was getting caught with, especially after you got clipped but didn't go down in the first round, that should have been an eye opener. I got to make some adjustments, but yet and still, Devin Haney kept getting hit with the shot. And I think that's what people are failing to realize and interpret. They just want to say Ryan's a cheater. Fine, he's suspended, but it still doesn't change the overall performance of what we've seen and the mistakes that were made. Osterine didn't make Bill Haney tell his son to fight and stand in the center of the ring with Ryan Garcia, who's already bigger than him and stronger than him. And again, that's what you got from Jorge Linares. Now, ego fun fact, I know somebody who went to the fight and they had a sidebar off the record conversation with Jorge Linares, and he says that he believes that drugs, no drugs, rematch, first fight, it'll all look the same between Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia, because he doesn't believe in Devin Haney's chin. Now, why is this important? Because Linares used to be managed by Freddie Roach and Pacquiao, so he's been around the game, and he's fought the Lomachenkos of the world, and he fought Devin Haney, and he also hurt Devin Haney. Yes, he lost the fight, but a former featherweight had moved up and laced that punch at the end of the round and caught Devin Haney. And that was kind of one of the first times where people were like, I don't know, Devin, maybe he's there to be caught because he fell asleep at the wheel. But we didn't make a big deal about it because Devin, the other rounds, was winning. But now when you see the Ryan Garcia fight and you hear about sparring stories like Teofimo says he hurt Devin Haney, Tank hurt Devin Haney, and then Linares hurt Devin Haney, now it's looking more like some Amir Khan stuff where it's like, I don't know, maybe the chin is not as advertised. And that's what Linares is saying. And the other thing that's important here is Linares trained in Vegas, where Devin Haney stays and trains as well. So he spent a lot of time training in Vegas. People talk. That's all I'll say. People talk in the boxing world. So a lot of secrets aren't really kept secret. So there might be other reasons that Linares is saying this outside of fighting Devin Haney. He might know other people in the Vegas area or just in the boxing circuits that sparred him. So he might know little stories and, just sidebar stuff. But that's what Linares said in Florida at the Teofimo fight, that he believes Ryan would beat him regardless of, even if he tests clean, because he doesn't have faith in Devin's chin. But if you guys need an official on the record, the link is in the description to the other interview that he did with YSM, and check that out. But he's pretty much saying the same stuff on the same night about Devin don't got no chin and he don't got no power. So we'll see how it all plays out. But like I said, in between a rock and a hard place, the Haneys are.